ladies and gentlemen. We are now here in front of number 25 Broadway. This building was the headquarters of the Cunard Line, which might not mean anything to you, but the building next to it, 11 Broadway, was the headquarters of the White Star Line. If that sounds familiar, it's because that was the line, the steamship line that built the Titanic. Now, all of these buildings were built by shipping companies, which is why you can see all these nautical themes on the buildings. Why? Because this was the headquarters of the ports of the United States. This is where everybody came, all shipments went in and out, and this is where it all happened. Now, imagine 100 years before that all of these were middle-class houses. None of this was here. There was no fort. These were middle-class houses. People lived here. And then they all moved uptown because it got crowded and noisy and full of ships. So these big grand shipping companies came in and built these beautiful buildings. Now, behind me, you notice that of all the statues around here, the one thing that isn't nautical is the giant bull. 7,100 pounds of bronze, to be exact, over 3,000 kilos. It was installed in 1987 after the stock market crashed in front of the stock exchange, a block behind the buildings over there. It was symbolic of the bullishness, the tenacity of the American spirit, and it was a big deal because in 1987 the stock market crashed and Americans wanted to be reminded of how amazing they were. It was a very popular piece of art, but it was actually illegal. It was a piece of guerrilla art, not in the long-armed ape, but in terms of the fact that it was illegal. I think I'm still hoarse. I can be louder, I promise. It was illegal, so the NYPD impounded it, but people got mad. They loved it. It was such popular art. So the NYPD and the City of New York agreed to install it right here temporarily. Well, 26 years later, it's still here. Now, what makes it a popular statue is that it's a bull, and it's popular to rub parts of it for good luck. And if you'll notice, the parts of it that are most shiny are the parts that make it a bull. Go ahead and take some pictures while we stand here. But take a look to your right. You're going to have a little bit of a better view of Battery Park. This is the beginning of New York City. I'm sorry, Bowling Green Park. This is where everything began. In fact, this was a parade ground, a social environment, and in 1770, when the relationship with the Crown of England was already starting to deteriorate, the British decided to install a statue of King George III on a horse right in the middle of that park, and they put a fence around it, but that didn't stop the colonists from getting to it. On July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia, and on July 9th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was read here in New York City for the very first time. After that reading, the colonists that listened to that inspiring document stormed down Broadway and pulled the statue down. They pulled the statue down, and the 2 tons of British lead were melted down and made 42,088 American bullets to be used against the British during the Revolutionary War. The statue is no longer there, but the fence is the original fence that was erected by the English in 1770. And you can notice that the tops of the fence seem to be scratched. That's where there were crowns representing the British Crown of England that were sawed off by the colonists, and you can see that as we walk by. Now our next stop is going to be another park, a beautiful park with a lot of monuments and a lot to see. So we're going to head down Broadway to Bowling Green.